It's Coach Ariel Anderson. Excuse me for being a couple minutes late. I couldn't figure out how to get the live to go on. Do you ever have these moments? Just your mind, the things that you used to know how to do. There's just been, it feels like a lifetime has happened since we last met. Here we are, and we're talking about the ups and downs of, in emotions and how this affects fertility. Now, we've talked about uh, emotions before. This is not something completely new, but with the atmosphere, not only in the world madness that's happening, but also in as the holidays are approaching, the end of the year, whatever it is that you celebrate or you mark time with, there is an awareness of so much, especially as the end of the year is coming. And if you're a person who celebrates anything at the end of the year, there's that reflection time, and it mounts a bit of the pressure and the stress that's already there when you're looking at your fertility path. You're looking back now. I would love for you to maybe just take a breath with me. I love to do that. The breathing in and exhaling to just ground into this moment with me and reflect back on the last few months. And I'm wondering what happens as you think about that? Do you feel excited? Like there's been some movement forward in your life, not just with fertility, but in your life? If there's been some even 1% improvement or bettering or more awareness, and giving yourself a bit of credit for the things that you've done. Now, one of the things that comes up, and I've talked about before, is that so many times I myself and clients will say, "Oh, I haven't gotten anything done." And that's really, words are so powerful. And inside of that, emotions, sort of move through that. And so I ask you for a moment to just reflect and give yourself a bit of grace about what you have created, what you have done, that you've been moving towards your amazing, beautiful, uh, fertile body and pregnancy and fertility over 40 is a challenging thing because you're going through so much for your own life. Where do you want to be? Who do you want to be with? Not only in a partnership, possibly, but also in the friendships and the people you patronize, meaning who you give your business to, who you give your energy to, who you give your money to this time of year. It is important. That place might have the most amazing hams or, veggie pies or something, but uh, do they bring you joy when you meet with them, when you connect with them? This is important because that energy goes into the food. So it sounds like I'm digressing, but it's all a part of the story of emotions because you determine what your life, what your days are going to feel like. And so I think that I'm mentioning this and why I'm even talking about this today, especially, is because this week, these last 10 days, 2 weeks, but this week especially, there's definitely something going on. I had two injuries in one day. Two. In that same period, a dear friend of mine, her daughter, was hit by a car while on her bike. And in that same small period, another parent from our school, they had an accident almost, not just within I really want to say a mile of each other, less than a mile. So there's something going on. And I think that part of it is emotions are coming through the body, but we're busy, we're doing things. And the body is like partway in the past, maybe in the future, but not necessarily. I think mind, body, and spirit are not all in the same place at the moment because there's a lot going on. There's a lot stirring in the world. There's things stirring in your body. The work that we've been doing together has all been about finding out what needs to you need to work with in order to release, let go, exhale, uh, in order to clear space for this baby, these babies that you want to bring in. And so, as I'm seeing myself even and my clients and the people around, there's something that's a little bit, I feel like there's something off. And I know that there's a lot going on the stars. There's some transitions. I'm definitely not an expert in that. Maybe we'll have to do a live with somebody and talk about that. That would be great. And there's some, but it's very emotionally related. I can tell you for myself, if you listen to the podcast this week, which remember, every Wednesday, the first Wednesday, I should say, of every month is always for you. Fertility, midlife pregnancy, over 35, 40, 50. And this week I talked about, what part of what for me was going on is that I was, I'm getting ready for having some people at the house, feeling nervous about that, that whole imperfection, perfection thing, uh, recovering perfectionist for sure here. And my house isn't fully unpacked yet because we've had school and la 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 and life and rebuilding and connecting with community, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I thought, oh, there was emotion there. And then I thought, why am I feeling so much tension around uh, around this gathering? And I realized there's just so many layers. And I'm wondering if you're going through any of this yourself. I realized that and if you've heard the podcast, you know what I'm going to say. One, there were some boundary things going on with my husband for sure. He's got so much going on. He's just been working, working, working a lot. And so it's harder for him to sort of manage daily life things and that support in moments because he just feels so overwhelmed himself. And, I needed support. So I ended up falling from the other stuff that was out of alignment in order to rest, to give myself permission to rest, even though I wasn't getting things weren't getting done, and just to release that because I had to, which is important. And that only happens when you're not listening to your body. And we were just talking about that not that long ago, listening to your body. So things like that don't happen, because it happens with a little fall and then it happens with a big illness. Then it happens with something else, loss of a partner. It just gets bigger and bigger until we listen. Those emotions, they affect the body and then the body takes action. And I don't want that action to be you losing your baby, which happened to somebody not fairly recently, around the emotions around vaxing and all this other stuff. I don't go really political here. So I think it's important to focus on you and not that. But there are thoughts on all of that. And just the emotions of, making the right decision for you and your family. It's intense. And so I don't want this to be another piece. And emotions are part of life. And when we don't move through them, but we go around them or we put them aside too long, um, it has deep effect. And that's why I'm often recommending things like acupuncture and mindfulness practice, whatever that means for you. If it's taking those 3 deep breaths and exhales, if it's meditating in the morning. For some people, I was talking to this woman yesterday. She has a crazy busy life, getting ready for the podcast. That'll be next year, and she has an intense life. She is working with a fairly public pharma that you would know the name of right now, especially, and quite high up. And she's also a mom, and she's been writing a book. And, I know you've got your own layers of things. And, she said, we just have she needs to move her body. Like, that's for her. Moving her body is the way to clear things out. And that, I agree with that, for whether it's a walk or a bike ride, depending on where you are and what the temperatures are and what your reality is. But it can be as simple as taking those 3 minutes that I talked about during the podcast and just making space, because the emotional ups and downs is where the body starts to say, okay, are you making space energetically for this baby or what? Because if you're not, I'm not doing this. And that doesn't mean you can't have off days. And I'm not in any way wanting to create another space where you're blaming yourself for, this, that, and the other that you're not doing. But you have to have awareness. You have to, as many times as possible, come back to that place of balance. Have a touchstone, something for you to reconnect with. And, can be something as simple as, one of the advents, just happens to be sitting here. My husband got this this little stone heart with blue. He knows I love blue. You know that too. If you see what I wear on our lives and on the videos. But there's something about this cold stone in the palm of my hand that is very calming. I have my sprays, which you know about. Recently going out to the waves and just really letting them wash over me, being in the forest, breathing in uh, that sweet air, that very earthy air. What is it for you? If you were to put in the comments right now, what would that be? Of course, if this is interesting for you, please do subscribe, help other people find this. But just know that I'm so thankful that you're here in this circle, whether you're here for the first time or returning, if you're looking to be a new mom or a mom again or a parent again, depending on what your uh, pronoun is. Just come back into that knowing that you have. I give advice, I give thoughts and tips. People out in the world are giving that to you, I'm sure, sometimes unsolicited and not something you want. And you're reading things and things are coming in, but ultimately, it's about you. You know what you need. And if you've forgotten, or if it's gotten pushed away because there's been a lot going on in your life, or partnership, or bonus families is really intense. And boy, do I know that it is overwhelming, especially if you're an introvert like myself, or you're just, you know, feeling overwhelmed because the world is overwhelmed. Even if you're in a calm space, there is the outside effects. Just come back to you and source, God, goddess, whatever you believe in, coming back to you in order to ride these waves of emotions up and down so that your body feels a clear message that your intention is to give the best to yourself, that you're willing to ask for support when you need it. Even if you don't get the answer that you want, that you're searching and you're willing, that you are a human being and will have imperfect, overwhelmed moments. That's okay. And you are clearing space. You are letting go of things on your to do list that are creating a tension and emotions of not doing or not doing well enough, that you are enough. You're accomplishing enough. And your emotions are just there to signal you, to remind you, to echo out the past or the future. I'm looking to this weekend and I feel so emotional. I miss Czech Republic so much. I'm homesick. At this time of year, I'm homesick for Czech. The first snow, the butterfly snow, I used to call it, because it was just so floaty and would come through the air at night. That first snow that just lights up your heart. You can feel it wake up in the night because there's something different in the air. The Mikolash, the celebration, which has been such a part of my life for over 22 years, which won't happen here. And the gatherings, which is why I'm pushing myself to have a gathering this weekend, because that was part of what was important to me. Gathering, community, creating new traditions that were beyond what my family ever had, but the family, the Ohana, that is you, that is the people in my circle, uh, and that's important. Whoever it is that I'm connected to that brings light, we have that energy exchange. That was vital for me, and I realized that I was missing that too. Yes, there is also one of the biggest anniversaries coming up, and I know that's also part of the emotions, and I can't believe it took me so long to realize, but that's how it is sometimes. One of the biggest miscarriages that I had, and I it's very vivid in my mind. I know exactly where I was in the moment when it started to happen. And it happened on this holiday weekend, and I had to cancel my party. Maybe that's part of it too, and that was really challenging for me. A lot of people that I missed were there. That was the last time, and it didn't. Those people moved and whatnot. It was very, very powerful, And, it's all about attachment and moving through it. And the holidays already can be emotional. Maybe there's people that you miss, or things that you wish you were doing, or partners you wish you had, or memories you have with your partners or husbands or wives that are shifted and not exactly the same. And there's an opportunity for you to shift your emotions, to allow them to be what you need them to be. If you want joy and laughter and magic, then you make that. Don't leave that power to anyone else. Don't allow someone to disappoint you in that way. Allow yourself to give to yourself. I put lights all over the inside of this house. I am not kidding you. Every single room has a light in it. Is that true? Yeah, I haven't put the lights on in the garage yet, but that's happening too. And but outside, inside, backyard, front yard, because it brings magic. It brings me joy at this time of year when things get dark. And I'd even asked the neighbor, like, could I put some things on your side? And sure. Okay, great. I was so thankful, and she surprised me because my emotions there are like, because we have a, let's say, different way in the life. And she's a guarded but lovely soul. And sometimes you just have to come into your deep faith in humanity when communicating, and hope and expect the best. Remember that in that 90s movie? Oh my gosh, what was that movie? Total Seattle. Mm, I'm not going to remember. It was around that same Reality Bites era. What was it? You remember that movie? I'll have to do it next time. Anyway, so I'm rambling on, but this week I just give yourself the grace to just be aware of your emotions, aware of the what's coming up, even if you have to write it down in your Google Doc, in your journal, wherever you write things. Remind yourself of right now in this moment what's coming up, and just allow it without editing. Write. Maybe do 3 minutes of unedited stream of consciousness writing. Just allow and just see. I'm excited about Christmas, even though I'm 45 and I feel like I should be over Santa, but I still love this time of year and the music and the lights. Or I feel like crap because I don't have a partner and I really want to make things happen for myself and I just want to hide under the covers. And that's okay too. All of those things are part of it. And it's allowing yourself to do that. I totally hid under the covers earlier this week, and I cried on a live Zoom with a bunch of parents I hardly know at a parent meeting when I started to talk about traditions that are important to our family. And I talked about Czech, and I was so embarrassed. But at the same time, you know what? That's real. That's real. And they've seen me being really tough, fighting for our kids and about random things. And so it's all good, and letting that go too. Letting go of the tensions and the expectations of what others need and what others think. All right, I'm going to wrap up because I have a coaching call with my coach happening right now, and I'm going to be late because I wanted to be here with you. That was important to me. That's our Friday thing. And even if you're not here, that's okay. Do comments down in the replay. I'm super excited to hear, what's coming up for you. If you want to share that, that's great. You can always write me at ariel@imperfectparenting.net, and I do write you back. Sometimes it takes less or more time, but I do write you back. And if I don't, that's because I missed it for some reason. So I apologize for that, but not usually. All right. Mwah. Have a beautifully imperfect day. Trust in your own knowledge of self and what you need. Let those emotions guide the way so that your fertility blossoms, blooms. Let go and release all that. Move through it, not around it. And I will see you next week at 10 a.m. Pacific.